Vape Nation has claimed its first victim. Hello everyone, this is Mr. Obvious, bringing you the obvious, and today on bbc.com/news. So, the first death linked to vaping reported in Illinois. You've heard that right, folks. Vape Nation has claimed its first victim. It was only a matter of time, wasn't it? A patient has died after developing a severe respiratory disease due to vaping in the first such death in U.S., say health officials. Experts investigate a mystery lung disease across U.S. linked with the use of e-cigarettes. Bro, I vape because it's healthier, bro. That's why I vape. I'm a vapor too. Yeah, you see, the whole vape thing came about because smoking was harmful to your health, so they invented vaping, where you put a little bit of oils and materials inside of your vape pen and it burns it and you smoke it. Unfortunately, they also add other shit to that crap that also gets burned up. It was probably only a matter of time before something like this happened. So, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, said there were 193 potential cases in 22 U.S. states. Many of these cases involved vaping THC, the main active compound in cannabis, CDC experts said. Now, it's important to make a distinction here. It's not the THC killing people. That has nothing to do with it. Weed has been proven to be a fairly safe compound. What is doing it is the additives. That's the same shit that kills you from smoking. It's the same thing you die from when you smoke. Usually, the additives are worse than the material, and there's really nothing too bad about THC. Nicotine is probably more dangerous, not to mention addictive. Funny what's legal and what's not legal in this country, huh? So, the cases were reported over the course of 2 months between 28th of June and the 20th of August. The person who died was hospitalized with unexplained illness after reported vaping or e-cigarette use, Dr. Jennifer Layden, the chief medical officer and state epidemiologist in Illinois, said. CDC Director Robert Redfield said, "We are saddened to hear of the first death related to the outbreak of severe lung disease in those who use e-cigarette or vaping devices." Vape Nation. He added, "This tragic death in Illinois reinforces the serious risks associated with e-cigarette products." Oh man, all those vapors are gonna start dying now because they vape. You know, the only correct solution here is to not smoke. Seriously, smoking is bad for your lungs, period. That is why I don't trust anything that isn't edible. So what is the illness? The cause of the mystery illness has not been identified, but all involve vaping in some form. In many cases, patients have acknowledged recent use of THC-containing product. The CDC's head of non-infectious diseases, Dr. Liana Arias, said. Those affected had symptoms including coughing, shortness of breath, and fatigue. That's just the effect of a good vape, brah. As well as some cases of vomiting and diarrhea. There is no evidence of an infectious disease, such as virus or bacteria, being responsible. But there is much that remains a mystery. It isn't clear if these cases have a common cause, or if they are different diseases with similar presentations, Dr. Arias said. There have been 22 cases in the state of Illinois, with patients ranging from 17 to 38 years old. The 22 states affected are largely in the center and northeast of the country, from Minnesota to North Carolina, though cases have been also reported in California, Texas, and New Mexico. You might want to check if that's an issue with supply. It's a little bit strange that it's all happening in a certain area, but not in places like California that has lots of vapors. So officials have ordered laboratory tests of vaping liquid samples in a bid to identify any harmful compounds. A black market is known to exist for THC-containing vape cartridges, which are sold legally through medical marijuana dispensaries in some states. Yep. It always seems like some asshole is polluting the supply, and then the CDC and the FDA, they get involved and like, look, this stuff is dangerous, let's ban it. And it turns out that it had nothing to do with the substance itself, but people polluting the product. Really kind of garbage. Is regular vaping safe? No. No cause for the mystery illness has been identified, and the link to THC products is not clear yet either. Myth Zeller of the U.S. Food and Drug Administration said it was important to understand that we find ourselves in the early stages of these investigations, trying to piece together the facts. Now, I think it's important to note something very simple. Just because deaths are linked to something like vaping, that doesn't mean that it's vaping itself that's killing people. This happens a lot with drugs of almost any kind. Whenever you have a new drug that's relatively safe and used recreationally or for medicinal purposes, the FDA is always quick to say, "Look at these 10 deaths. We must ban this dangerous substance," ignoring the fact that most times those deaths aren't even caused by the substance itself. Many deaths are caused by mixing medications or taking too much. That usually is the case, but they always exaggerate, they always lie, they'll do anything. Them and the DEA will do anything to keep the dirty drug war going. Nothing says black market and drug profits like the drug war. If it wasn't for the drug war, the cartel would not exist. You tell me if it's worth legalizing everything. And if you don't believe me, believe my economics professor, who basically said the same thing. Here's an interesting story. One time I was listening to a lecture, and he was talking about his thesis, and this is what he said. So it turns out that when the police make a drug bust, and they get drugs off the streets, all it does is drive up prices of drugs. But you see, drugs have a very interesting demand to price relationship. If the price of drugs goes up, demand does not falter. In other words, if you make a drug bust, all you're managing to do is make drugs more profitable, thus increasing the amount of suppliers. The demand does not change. There will always be demand. So really, drug bust and the drug war only prop up, well, drugs. He said the FDA was exploring whether products were used as intended or being modified by adding something to them. The president of the American Vaping Association, George Connolly, said in a statement on Thursday that he was confident the illnesses were being caused by devices containing cannabis or other synthetic drugs, not nicotine. But Dr. Brian King from the CDC's Office on Smoking and Health warned against thinking of vaping as completely safe. "We do know that e-cigarettes do emit a harmless aerosol," he said. "There's a variety of harmful ingredients identified, including things like ultrafine particulates, heavy metals like lead, and cancer-causing chemicals." Oh, Jesus Christ. He said along with diactol, a flavoring used to give a buttery taste that has been linked to severe respiratory illness. He also warned of the possibility that similar cases had been happening for a long time, but the connection between them had been missed. It's possible that the reported cases could have been occurring before this investigation was even initiated, he said. Dr. King said it was possible. We weren't necessarily capturing them, but now there's increased diligence in the terms of the current investigation that we're better able to. At least 2 people have previously died in the US after their e-cigarettes exploded in their face. I never got the hate against vapors. I get that there's always an obnoxious subculture, especially with new things. But, it's just a stupid vaping pen. Apparently it's not safe. Anyone with half a brain could have told you that. But I guess there we have it, folks. Vape Nation has claimed its first victim. But that's merely the obvious. Well, that's all for now, folks. What do you think about Vape Nation? What do you think about this story? And do you think it's legit? Be sure to let me know. Now, as many of you may know, my entire channel has had monetization disabled. That means I'm no longer able to receive ads. The best way you can help me is by joining me on Patreon or Subscribestar. You can join for as low as $1. There are different tiers, you can choose whatever you wish. Doing so will give you access to Fight Club, a private Discord server. There's also PayPal and Bitcoin. If you prefer a physical product for now, before I have any merch out, you can check out my affiliate link, Magnetic MacBook Pro camera covers. They even have a cute NyanCat version. Lastly, the best thing you can do is share my videos that you enjoy or find interesting on social media. As always, thanks for watching. This has been Mr. Obvious, and I'll see you all next time.